Hello everybody, welcome back to another review. Today I will be reviewing and unboxing these new Funkos from Toy Story and WALL-E. So here we have this Woody and Buzz Lightyear Gamer 2 pack. It's an exclusive to the Funko 2024 Entertainment Expo. It's a limited edition. I was lucky and got to pick it up in my local GameStop. They had 2 left in stock, so I was able to get one of them. It cost 25 bucks. I believe it's also available on the Funko website for 30 bucks. And then on this side, we have, on the right side of the camera, we have this Pop Classics WALL-E limited edition of 10,000 pieces. I don't know how many pieces the Toy Story one was made of, but the WALL-E one is only 10,000. That's available on the Funko website. I believe it was also 30 bucks. It might have been 35, I'm not 100% sure if it was 30 or 35. So without further ado, let's get into how opening these up and taking a look at them. Well, first I'll show off the other parts of the package. So starting off with the Toy Story one, on the other side you can see Woody's eyes and a hat over here. On the back you can see they're just called Woody and Buzz Lightyear, even though these are gamer versions of them. So interestingly, there's actually a promotional animation render that Pixar made for Toy Story 2 back in 1999, and they actually use it for the trailer thumbnail on the Pixar official website. But it's not actually seen anywhere in the movie. In fact, we never even see Woody and Buzz Lightyear play video games in any of the movies or shorts. And then the other side, you can see Buzz's eyes. Here's the top of the box. And here's the bottom. And taking a look at the WALL-E box, this is a pretty nice box. It's pretty heavy. This box is probably a good pounds, probably. So you can see it is shiny metal. It is Pop's classic and beveled onto it. You can see this cardboard cutout of WALL-E saying limited edition 10,000 pieces. It includes one piece, which would be the Funko, one certificate, one vinyl figure. I'm sorry, that says pin, not piece up at the top. So it includes a pin and one coin. You could also see it engraved, or beveled rather, up at the top. The bottom is just flat. So without further ado, let's get into opening both of these up. Well, I guess I'll start off opening up the Toy Story one. I'll make the unboxing the WALL-E part of the review. So interestingly, you look at the box. I forgot to mention this when discussing the box, and also this cardboard cutout. What's kind of weird about the Toy Story Funko is that they're still using this Toy Story 4 graphic that they use in like all the Toy Story 4 merchandise of the light blue and dark blue triangles coming out of a circle. That was part of like the Toy Story 4 marketing vibe that all the merchandise did. And it's so weird because it's been 5 years since Toy Story 4 came out, and the 5th movie is not even 2 years away, frankly, which that's a whole different discussion. I'll definitely see it. I would not say I'm not looking forward to it, but I think they shouldn't be making it. And that's a completely different discussion. It is nonetheless odd that we're 5 years away from Toy Story 4 and we're still using this marketing design in the Toy Story merchandise. So if you can see here, Woody and Buzz, they look great out of the package. Taking a look at it, you can see that Woody has a W block underneath his game controller, which is what's propping it up along with his leg. You can see Andy written on the back of his right leg. And in line with the movie, the N in the Andy is backwards. His pull string lasso right here. You have nice designs for the shirt on his torso. As is standard with a lot of Funkos, he does not have a mouth, and he has giant, just black circular eyes. It's a very distinctive Funko style, which I personally don't really mind, although I know some people really don't like it. Like, with the upcoming Up Funkos for the 50th anniversary, people have been saying how weird Russell looks without mouth when the other characters have mouths, but yeah, it does kind of look weird. It's just part of the Funko vibe, I think, and Woody and Buzz here, they're the same thing, because Buzz is not in the mouth either, despite having that swirl in his chin. And Woody's head can rotate a full 360 degrees, as a standard for most Funkos. There is some nice texturing on the brim of his hat, so you could feel the texture of the. I'm not really big. I don't know enough of it has to know the correct terminology, but basically the stuff that kind of points out, like you can see. Other than like that, he's pretty smooth all around. This lasso piece you could also feel as well. So Woody and Buzz, they're actually using the exact same game controller. So moving on to Buzz here. You can actually see that Buzz has his wings propped out, which is neat. I think most of the Funkos, they don't have that. I believe there is a floating Buzz from Toy Story 4 that had it out, although I don't have that one myself, unfortunately. So I believe this is my first Buzz Funko that actually has the wings propped out. Again, Buzz, just like Woody, has the giant round black eyes and no mouth, but you can see that distinctive chin swirl that he's had in the movies and carried over into Lightyear as well. So unlike Woody, who has one of his legs placed backwards and has the game controller being propped up by a block, Buzz does not have any of that. He's just sitting straight, and his legs are propping up the game controller. And his game controls also are more of an angle than Woody's, whereas Woody's just flat. Buzz is more of on an angle. And just like Woody, his head can do a full 360 degrees. I'm going to do a quick comparison to this Rex Funko that was released exclusive to the box lunch earlier in the year. I don't have a review on that, so I guess I'll do a mini review of that right now. So interestingly, Woody, Buzz, and Rex, they all actually are using the same game controller in terms of design. So like if you look at the game controller, it's like all like the same. So you have like the blue square over here on this corner. You have the red square in this corner. You have like the red plus sign on the left side. A red circle in the center. And our four circles that are blue, red, white, and black on the left side. So that indicates that they're the same controllers, but then there are some differences between them. Like, for one, Rex's controller is quite a bit bigger or wider than Woody's. Even a little bit longer as well, whereas Woody's and Buzz's controllers are the same size. So that's weird, because if they're for the same console, shouldn't the controllers be the same size? And then the other thing is that Rex's controller is gray, Woody's and Buzz's are white. So I think that's a bit more plausible, because when you get a video game console, like usually by default the controller is the same color as the console. So you buy a console in black, you get black controllers. If you buy a console in white, you get white controllers. But then you could go into the manufacturer store, like the Xbox store, the PlayStation store, whatever, and you could pretty much get a controller in whatever color you want. So I think that's more plausible. But then look in the movies, it's like, for one, these controllers are a bit different than when they're in the movies. Like these movies, these controllers on the Funkos, they're more like rectangular with angled edges, like flat angled edges, or corners rather. In the movie, I think, if I recall correctly, they look closer to like your standard Xbox or PlayStation controller. But then in the movie also, it's like the controllers are just white for Andy's. So like, why is Rex's gray? I mean, the Funkos, they do look great, but it's just weird continuity issues like that. Like, if they made Woody's and Buzz's controllers gray too, like, I wouldn't really have that issue. I mean, I still have the issue with the sizing, but it's not as obvious as when they're completely different colors. Like, it's not even like Rex's is just slightly off. It's like, it's a completely different shade of gray. And one other neat thing that Rex had was that Rex's was actually directly from the movie. I mean, the controller is different than the controller in the movie, if I recall correctly. Woody and Buzz, we actually never seen them play games in the movies. Rex, he actually did play in Toy Story 2, so Rex here is a bit more accurate to the movie, if you will. Or rather, he actually appeared in the movie. Whereas Woody and Buzz, I think they do make a nice display with Rex, albeit with some discrepancies with the controllers. But otherwise, great releases. Standing alone from Rex, if you ignore the discrepancies between Rex's controllers, They do look great, although actually, when you think about it, there is another discrepancy, which is that Rex should be a bit bigger compared to Woody when he's standing up. So that's another issue, I think. And that when you compare it to Woody and Buzz, Rex is just way too small. But you take Rex out of the picture and you just look at it as Woody and Buzz, I think they look great as on their own, and I don't really have any issues with them. It's just how they compare to Rex that you're putting them in a display in terms of the sizing and the controller continuity issues. So moving on to WALL-E now. WALL-E's is actually wrapped with plastic wrap, so I'm going to use a scissor roll when that went up, whereas Woody and Buzz are in a standard just Funko cardboard box you can easily open, didn't even have tape in it. So if you just get a tear, you can cut it open. Like, there's no way to salvage this, I don't think. I mean, it's not a big deal. I'm not going to save the cardboard anyway. Once you open it, this is definitely pretty nice. You have the behind the cardboard, like WALL-E was covering up this like vault unlocking design, which is beveled onto it, and this is definitely really nicely detailed. They also did one of Lotso earlier in the year or last year or something. So once you open it up, you actually have the WALL-E Funko Pop actually in its own like Funko box. Over here you have this card. Over here you have a pin. Well, this is the pin right here. And then over here you have some sort of coin. So we'll take a look at all those in a second. And then on the right you have the Funko in a traditional Funko box. So start off, here is the WALL-E pin. So the WALL-E pin is it's a pin of WALL-E. And it's definitely a pretty nice pin. The pin measures 1.5 inches tall by 1 inch wide. So it's a relatively small pin. I mean, compared to other pins, it's not huge. Well, I mean, compared to other pins, it's like a standard pin size, but compared to like the other things I'm reviewing, it's in here it's like pretty big. I mean, pretty small. I mean, I cannot talk right now. And on the back, you just have the standard. It's just a standard black pin that keep the needle from like poking you. Whereas when you buy a pin at the Disney store, it usually has a Mickey Mouse thing that covers it, whereas this is just a more standard. And it is a pin of the WALL-E Funko, which is nice. Moving on to this coin. It says WALL-E Pop Classics, and it has a picture of WALL-E and limited edition on it. I'm going to try to get this out. For some reason, this is wanting to be a little difficult to get out. So for whatever reason, that coin did not want to come out very well, so I had to like kind of like take the black thing off to just kind of like tape or glue it in to force the pin out from the back. The black bit I do want to, the black covering, which is clearly just put over a piece of plastic, I do want to keep in here because this is a nice box. So this is what the pin looks like out of the package. On the back of the pin, it says 10,000 Funko pieces. Copyright Disney Pixar, TM Funko LLC 2024, and made in China. This is how it compares in size to the pin. It has a 1.5 inch diameter. I think it's been a long time since I've taken a math class, but I think that's the terminology for the going from one side to the other in a straight line. So I hope I'm right on that. These things do not want to come out very easily. And this is the card, which did get a little dent right there, unfortunately, when taking it out. It says a stock photo of the WALL-E Funko. In the top left, it says Funko Classics, has a Funko logo on the top and the logo of WALL-E over here. It says WALL-E, newly minted Pop Classics. Right here, and then beneath here it says, some of Funko's first Pops ever made are back in circulation in a form that pays tribute to the original. They're newly minted and refreshed as our Pop Classic series. Limited edition, 10,000 pieces, available for a limited time. Doesn't have like a number of which one in production mine is. It doesn't look like on here. So this was one of the first WALL-E Pops made. I actually don't have the original myself, so I'm not able to do a comparison, unfortunately. But nonetheless, this is definitely nice to have. Getting into the Funko itself. It's number 54C, the C being for the Classic series. This is a nice metallic box as well. It's a really shiny box instead of your standard white. So like you could clearly see this is reflecting like a lot. Like you could actually like in the reflection, you could clearly see the phone I'm recording this video on. You can see my shirt. Whereas like the Toy Story box is just the more standard color. So you have a nice Funko on the inside, Funko.com exclusive. Pop, it has a Pop Classics over here, and WALL-E logo over yellow, 54C. Side you have a full stock photo, WALL-E 54C again, Pop Classics. On the back, it doesn't show anything else. It just has a lot of Funko Classic logos. And again, just WALL-E. On top, you have the Disney logo, Pop Classics, and WALL-E's eyes. On the bottom, just your standard information at the bottom of the box. So let's get WALL-E out of this box here. In this box, it's this box is just a standard box, so it's easy to open. So taking a look at WALL-E here, he's on this he's on this nice podium over here. It says year 2 at the bottom, with a Pop logo above that. There's some nice beveling and embossing on along the sides. Of like you can see a city in the background of the dirt on the side over here and throughout. He's making some tires on both the sides of the front. And this is definitely a really nice side. The Pop itself can actually be disconnected from the base. So taking a look at it there, you have WALL-E in this nice pose. He's sitting down, shivering a little bit, kind of like with the wheels kind of put in beneath him as opposed to being out on the side like they normally are. You have his arms just barely extended out. And you have him looking in this nice expression. And unlike the Toy Story Funko Pops, these WALL-E obviously doesn't have a head. His eyes are basically just giant binoculars. And those look great. They actually, instead of in the movie where it's like the whole binocular is the eye, it's like they put like these giant black circular eyeballs inside of the eyeballs rather, inside of the binoculars to give that classic Funko look. Looks great. You can see WALL-E text clearly written over here. Over here, you could make out the lines and circle for his charge level. You can see a red dot over here. I believe my finger's in the way, so you can see the red dot clearly over there. Some other buttons above. Nice detailing for the black and white stripes along the side of his arms. And over here you can see these bars that they have on the side that he holds his basket on. And nice detailing with the different colorings over here. And then WALL-E easily snaps back onto his podium with these two rectangles that are extruded out, and you just plop them in like that. However, he actually does not fit in going the other way because of the way they're designed. It's like this one over. It's like this one. It's the two rectangles are extruded out. They're actually shaped a little differently, so you can only fit them in one way, with his face facing in the way where it says Pop Year 2 at the bottom. And he definitely looks great. Again, I don't have the original, unfortunately, so I can't do a comparison. but I do actually have some other WALL-E Funkos that I can compare them to. So if I recall correctly, this was one that came in a Target Exclusive 2-pack a couple of years ago. I can take them off the podium for these comparisons. So this one actually, it looks like the color in the yellow is actually a little bit lighter. Interestingly, over here, these gray pieces over here, I'm not sure what they're called, but they're actually a completely different shade of gray. Like the new one that they just made is a bit darker than this one, where it's a bit lighter. Taking a look at another WALL-E Funko, or actually a couple of other ones rather. This one is WALL-E with a garbage cube. So this one, the color difference is even more drastic. This one's a pretty bright orange. This one is a bit duller. I wonder what causes these just drastic color differences. Like, other than, like, actually, again, I think this must be a change for this one, or maybe they had the color wrong in 2012 or whenever it was that they first released WALL-E, and they're just keeping that error now to honor what happened, what they did then. I don't know. Again, I don't know because I don't have that one personally on me. And this one, these pieces are kind of popping out a little bit. I don't know if it's not something I ever noticed before, so I'm assuming it's supposed to be like that. And you could also see that on this one, the one with the cube, I believe it came out last year if I recall correctly. I want to say it was 15th anniversary ones. I could be wrong. It has these circles throughout on the sides of binoculars, whereas this one, it doesn't have those. Actually, you can see that on this one too, that they had that. So those are both changes that they, I don't know if like this one had like things that they made in 2012 or whenever that they added for the newer ones that they're temporarily going back as a one-time thing for legacy reasons for this one too, or if they just completely changed the way they're doing WALL-E now or something. This one is the Disney 100 WALL-E that they did pretty recently as well at the end of last year. So this one is more of like a shiny silver design, kind of because I was for Disney's 100th anniversary, they had the theme of the color was all like a platinum or silver or something like that. So that for a lot of the Disney Funkos for the 100th anniversary, they put that color scheme on them. So, and notably, this one has both of the features that they used for 2023. So like the lighter color here and the dots around the binoculars. But these two actually probably are the most similar expressions of the WALL-Es I've compared so far. The binoculars are relatively similar. Actually, their binoculars look to basically be in the same shape, actually. Their arms are also basically in the same pose, although the classic one I'm reviewing now is more angled inwards. And it's extended out slightly less, but not by a lot. But then obviously the biggest difference between the Disney 100 and this one are the wheels. So this one, the wheels partly pulled in and like in WALL-E's underneath his main cube, whereas the Disney 100 one, it's out on the sides and fully retracted as you typically expect of WALL-E. So this WALL-E here is another one where these pieces are pulled out, so I guess that is expected. I just never really noticed it or put any thought into it. This one is the one with the WALL-E with the hubcap. Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of these other WALL-E 15th anniversary ones. So clearly you can see these are quite different expressions and quite different poses as well. And this one, the bars back here, they're a much brighter orange, whereas in these ones, like, it's a different shade of orange, but the difference in the shade, it's much less noticeable. And interestingly, I was just counting the number of bars. I didn't think to do that on the other ones, but this one, it appears that this one actually has, the one with the hubcap, has more bars in its charging. So in this one, the lines are thicker, and it seems like he has one thick bar and 5 thin bars. Whereas the hubcap one, he appears to have 1 thick bar and 6 thin bars. And then like the one at the top is like not even angled that well. It's like a little bit of an angle instead of straight and kind of coming off. So like that might have been like a bit of a quality control thing or an error or something in the hubcap one. It's interesting to note that the thickness of the lines on his charging bar and even the quantity of them, they're different between the two of them. Let me actually take a look at the one with the plants again, because that one I can clearly see, or one of the other ones. Yeah, so interestingly, this one, the one where his arms like that from the 2-pack with Eve, I believe that was from, that also has the 6 bars. And then the one where he's holding the plant, that also has 6 bars. So I think normally they have 6 bars, because the one with the plant is a bit older. Most of these were 50th anniversary ones, but the one with the plant, that was made a few years earlier as a Earth Day. It was an Earth Day release, like in 2015 or something. I don't remember the exact year. No, it wasn't. It was probably like 2018 or something. I don't know at the top of my head, but I know it was at least a few years older. That one also 6 bars, so I'm thinking that either they made him with 5 bars in 2012 or whenever, and again just bringing it back for legacy reasons, or that they're just changing it or something for whatever reason. And then last but not least, for the normal size WALL-E Funkos, we have this WALL-E with the fire extinguisher. This one actually seems like the cube itself is slightly bigger as well. Obviously the arms are attracted the most in this one, and obviously his base is huge. It does look like the base in here might be like slightly larger, like only by like a very small fraction of an inch. But like it looks a little bigger, although that could just be my eyes picking up on it because of how big the base is. But last but not least, I do have one more WALL-E Funko to compare, which is this giant one that is like 10 inches. So this here is a 10-inch tall WALL-E Funko that was released I think this was also 15th anniversary. There were a lot. So when you're taking a look at this, there's obviously quite a big size difference. Although I think this is using the same pose as the Disney 100 one. Let me pull that one again. So as you can see, this is definitely using the same pose as Disney 100. So anything I said about the Disney 100 pose, it would compared to the new one or Classics one rather, would apply here. Although this one does have coloring in line as well with the current WALL-E, the Classics WALL-E. The colors do look to be pretty similar. On the camera, I can see it's coming out much brighter in the Classics one. In person, I think it's about the same. And interestingly, here on 10-inch WALL-E, he actually has 7 lines plus the big ones, so 8 total. 1 big and then 7 small on his charging station display. So I guess the number of lines they do is just based on however many they feel will fit, as opposed to what's actually displayed in the movie. I think in the movie it's more like 4 or 5 lines. Well, in the editing stage of this review, since I didn't have a copy of the WALL-E on hand, the original one that was released, I did go back and look at a stock photo online on Funko's website. So there are a couple of big differences, but one really big difference. For one, the outline around WALL-E's binoculars were a bright yellow at the time. So on the newer WALL-E's, it's been like a very dark brown or dark gray, like brownish gray. So that change is also applicable to this new WALL-E, or rather this Classics WALL-E. And then the other difference is that the yellow on the WALL-E back then was like a duller yellow, whereas this one is a bit brighter and, well, not exactly, it's closer to in line with being with the more recent WALL-Es that they've done. So it's like a kind of like a mix. So mostly they've done what they did with the newer WALL-Es in this one. Although the one thing that they did keep from the old one, which I talked about a little bit, was how the 3 dots in the binoculars, like those were not present on the original one, and that they're still not present, so they did go back in that regard. But in all other regards, they've gone back to they're doing what they're doing with the WALL-Es now. And then of course the pose is 100% identical to the WALL-E pose from back then. And then before I forget, I do want to actually share measurements of the WALL-E and Toy Story Funkos. I meant to do that for the Toy Story Funkos when I was reviewing them, but completely forgot, so I'll just throw them in now while I do measurements of WALL-E. So, WALL-E here in height, he is about... WALL-E is just under 3 inches tall. At the base, he is about 1.5 inches wide at the base. At the binoculars, since that's wider than his base, he is weighing, he measures about 2 3/4 inches wide. In depth at his binoculars, he is about, I think it'd be easier to measure the other way, a little over 1.5 wide. And at the base, he is just under 1.5 long inches. So he's not that big, but it's pretty standard size for a Funko again. To do the measurements on WALL-E's base that he could be attached to, the base measures 3 inches long. It is 2 1/4 inches wide. And it is about 3/4 of an inch tall. And since I realized that I forgot to show off what it says in the bottom of the base when I was discussing earlier, it just says, it doesn't really have anything that's like interesting. It's all just standard production copyright stuff that I had to put on. So copyright Disney Pixar, some sort of code here. I have no idea what that means. Funko LLC 2024, www.funko.com, and made in China. And again, since I forgot to do Woody and Buzz earlier, I will do them right now. So Woody at the start of his gaming part of the game remote is about 2 1/4 inches wide. His head is about the same, about 2 1/4 inches wide. And the brim of his hat, since that's the widest part, so going from the longest part of the brim of his hat to the other end is looks to be about 3 3/4 inches wide, give or take. It's a little hard to measure because of the way it's set up. In terms of height, Woody is about 4.5 inches tall. That's going from approximating from where the highest part of his hat is. So it's a little bit hard to get the measuring tape there. So approximately 4.5 inches tall. And in terms of width, he is at the top of the hat about 3.5 inches. And going from the front of his remote to the back of his head is about 2 1/4. And last but not least, Buzz Lightyear. Going by his wingspan, Buzz has a wingspan of about 2.5 inches. And his game console remote is about 2 1/4 inches. So his wingspan is probably just barely longer. Actually, his wingspan is more like 2 3/8, actually. So just slightly shorter, but not by a lot. These Funkos are not exactly the easiest things to measure. And this is actually the first time I've ever measured them. Or actually, it's the first time I've ever measured anything on camera, actually. Because I haven't done measurements in the past in my reviews. Which really I probably should have been. And in height, he's about 3.5 inches. And in width from his back to the front, he's a little over, going from the back of his head to the front of the remote is a little bit over 2 inches. just barely over 2 inches. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of these Funkos, if you've been able to pick them up or if you plan on picking them up. And how they compare to other Toy Story and WALL-E Funkos, such as the ones I've compared, or any others that you own that I did not compare. Or what do you think the WALL-E Classics, how the WALL-E Classics compares to the very original one. I'll see you soon for another review. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Bye now.